thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I understand you just flew in, right?
Yes, I did. It's kind of windy out there, but it's always good to come home.
Definitely, I agree with you. And I understand that your wife was also recently, hospitalized.
Yeah, she actually had heart surgery. Had about 6 hours of surgery, but she's doing fine. She's, I think, fully recuperated. We go see the doctor Monday, so.
Oh, that's good. She's doing better then.
She's doing much
How's
better.
your family holding up?
Good, good. It's a traumatic experience for all of us, but we're just thankful to God that she came through it really well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that too.
Thank
I
you.
was really worried about that when I had read about it, and
Yeah,
I
thank
wanted to
you.
make sure everything was okay. Well, since we have a little bit of time with you today, if you would please just introduce yourself to our viewing audience and what you do for us.
All right. Well, I'm Congressman Silvestre Reyes. I'm honored to represent the 16th District of Texas. I was first elected in 1996, so I'm in my 8th term. I'm into my 16th year as the congressman for El Paso and the greater El Paso region.
Wow. Now, since you've been our congressman for so long, I'm sure you've had plenty of accomplishments, right?
Well, I think so. I'm very proud of the things that I've had a role in a hand in. I guess for me, the most basic part of my job is to make sure that we have a strong constituency service, because the day-to-day operations, taking care of the needs of the people of this district and sometimes surrounding area are very important. That's the bread and butter of the work that we do.
Of course.
In addition to that, when I first took office in January of 1997, we learned that Fort Bliss was actually on the way to being closed, being bracked. And so that's an important part of our economy. So that quickly became a very high priority for us as well. Throughout my time in Congress, I've had 3 priorities. First one was education, because fundamentally that's going to be the key to preparing our children for the 21st century. Second is border issues, because I represent a border district. My background is in border security, having been in the Border Patrol. And I think it's now, 10 years later after 9/11, it's proven to be one of the key parts of the work that I've done. And then the third one is national security. And that is because of the importance of Fort Bliss to our economy, the importance of Fort Bliss now to the national security of our country. So we work very hard to turn things around and make Fort Bliss an important and essential part of the national security strategy. We've been successful. We've invested over $5 billion into Fort Bliss, which has been a very significant part of the progress that we've seen these last 10 years or so. And we're still, what's left on that is to construct the new William Beaumont Hospital. That's another investment of over $1 billion. So we're going to be over $6 billion by the time we're finished there in Fort Bliss. So it's a significant turnaround.
Oh, I agree, and I know that you've done so much for the El Paso region, and without Fort Bliss, of course, we wouldn't be where we are today. Now, the thing about Fort Bliss is that despite Fort Bliss being one of the largest employers here in El Paso, we still face a 10% unemployment rate. That makes about 35,000 of us El Pasoans that are currently unemployed. Do you have any plans on bringing other businesses to El Paso, or do you have any plans on maybe making El Paso a little bit more desirable for businesses to bring their companies here?
Sure, and the good news is that the unemployment rate is coming down, tracking much like the national unemployment rate. Right now, we're somewhere around 9.5, 9.6 unemployed, which is very high for a region as big as the El Paso region. So I am proud to say that I've been working closely with President Obama and his administration to turn the economy around, because I think if we pass the President's Jobs Act, that will mean a significant infusion of federal dollars into what is one of the most critical areas, and that's our school systems. Because as we all know, at the state level, the governor's administration has made severe cutbacks in the amount of money invested in our school system. So the Jobs Act has money for school construction, school remodeling. It also, should I stop?
No, keep going.
So it also has the money in there for protecting teacher salaries and expanding the teacher pool. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to pass the Jobs Act. In addition to that, we're in the process of seeing some of these support corporations that are coming here to support the aviation brigade, the transportation brigade, and of course the combat brigades, the 1st Armored Division combat brigades, bringing support personnel, which we anticipate will also be hiring locally, maybe somewhere around 1,000 to 2,500 jobs in the next 3 to 5 years. That's just what's on the horizon. We're also excited because the National Training Center of the Air Force looks very positive that it's going to come here to Fort Bliss.
Oh, wow.
And the reason for that is we've got all state-of-the-art training ranges that make this place a natural for a national training center. The Air Force reaffirms that, so that's going to bring additional military personnel with their families, plus the companies that support those training endeavors are going to be bringing either positions here or personnel as well. So all of that helps to create more contracts. It helps to create more activity for restaurants, for movies, for all of the kinds of things that we hope will have a very positive impact on the unemployment rate as we see the economy improve nationally and locally.
Well, I certainly hope so as well. Now, you mentioned the budget cuts, the state budget cuts, and unfortunately, from what I had read, is that 3 of our largest school districts here in El Paso will be losing up to $100 million. And couple that with them already not performing as well as we would like. Education is very important in order for us to have a strong workforce. What can we do, or what can you do to make sure that these cuts don't go through?
Well, unfortunately, the primary funding comes from the state level. So what I have been doing is urging our state representative, the state delegation, to stand up for education, for our children, and against the cuts that the governor and his administration are proposing. In addition to that, I voted for the Stimulus Act. In the Stimulus Act, we had a significant amount of federal dollars in there for education. Unfortunately, the first go around, the governor took that money and put it in the rainy day fund,
Right?
which effectively meant that the money that was supposed to offset the cuts never made it to the school districts here. The second round, we got smarter, and we put caveats in the legislation that said the governor cannot use this money for anything except education. And so that brought almost an additional $30 million to the 9 school districts here in the El Paso region. If we pass the Jobs Act, there'll be additional federal dollars to come to El Paso and actually for school districts throughout the nation. But certainly something that is very important, because we're investing in ourselves. We're investing in the future leaders by putting those dollars to work today, protecting teacher salaries, protecting the future capabilities of expansion, because one of my daughter is a principal of a middle school, so she explains to me the impact that those cutbacks have. And the impact that is the most negative is that classroom size is greatly expanded.
Yes.
Classrooms that were designed for 18 to 22 students are now having routinely to accommodate 28 to 30, maybe 32 students. And it just makes it very difficult, both physically for the desk to be situated in a room like that, plus it makes it more difficult for a teacher. So I'm hoping that we're able to defray the kinds of short-sighted policies that Governor Perry has implemented, and we do everything that we can to bring federal dollars directly to the schools so that no governor gets to play with money intended for education.
The NDAA was just signed the last day of 2011. What makes this year's act a little different is that it did include some sort of clause that would allow an American citizen to be tried without charge and without a jury if they're suspected of any terrorism. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, sure. You know, we worked very hard, long nights, trying to beat back the original language that was proposed there, because it is, it was very dangerous language that was the equivalent, without saying so, of military control over issues that properly belong with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because they have the lead as far as domestic anti-terrorism and intelligence. We were largely successful. The compromise was not what I wanted, but in the final analysis, because of all the other things that we had in there that were important, we had a very strong sexual abuse for our military women section in there, among many other things. We agreed on the compromise. This year we're continuing the battle with fine tuning some of those issues there. The president, by the way, the reason we agreed to it was the president had a very strong administration signing policy. It's a statement. The technical term is statement of administration policy, in which he vehemently disagreed with the language in the authorization bill, which gives us the impetus to be able to renegotiate those points this year. Not everybody's happy about that, but you know, what was not acceptable to us was to lose all the other good things that we had in there that were going to be important and essential, as we were still looking at a military presence remaining in Iraq, and also a war going on in Afghanistan. So I felt it was a responsible thing to do to get it off the table, knowing that the president was going to take issue with the policy and would give us the ability to negotiate, and that's what we're doing now with the new authorization request.
Okay. Now, bringing it in a little bit more local, studies indicate that a strong downtown culture contributes to a stronger city. Now, downtown has been seeing a lot of revitalization, some say a renaissance. What would you do to bring more attention to El Paso, as currently El Paso kind of has a murky type of relationship with the media, with the Juarez Wars and things like that. They kind of attribute El Paso a lot to that. What can you do to bring more positive attention to the downtown area?
Well, in reality, it's a continuation of what I have done, because early on, when we were able to earmark, now the Republicans have taken away our capability to earmark, which is part of the Tea Party strategy. We're hoping that goes away after these elections in November. But federal dollars contributed 1.3 million to the renovation of the Plaza Theater. In the beginning, when it was very critical to have those kinds of dollars so that private investment could come in. And today we've got a state-of-the-art beautiful facility that everybody can be proud of. We've had private investment, but federal dollars have brought in the rejuvenation of the Sun Metro system, terminals that are important. There's a parking garage there now built with federal dollars, a new $74 million federal courthouse, a passport office. We're one of a handful of locations that actually have a passport office, so that when you or I or anybody else needs a passport on an emergency basis, that office can fulfill that right away. Before this, we had to go to Houston. So and those are all centrally located downtown.
Yes.
I early on in my first term decided to put my office right there on the placita at the Cortez Hotel, because I wanted to send a message that for us, we didn't want to just talk about the revitalization of downtown. We wanted to set an example, which is what we've done. Our office has been there all this time. So I intend to continue to highlight and prioritize those federal dollars coming into downtown, as well as other areas. We're looking at support for the missions. We think the missions can be our equivalent to the missions of San Antonio. So there are a number of things that we're working on.
All right. Now you mentioned that bringing the VA hospital here is a very important priority for you, right? Well, part of the budget cut is we're planning to lose about $13 million for the medical school that we already have here. If we lose that money, it'd be hard to kind of staff our hospitals. Don't you agree?
Well, you know, it's a difference of perspective. I've got an invitation to General Shinseki, who heads the Veterans Administration, to come here and look at the Medical Center of the Americas complex.
Okay.
I want him to hear their presentation, because there are three basic options for the Veterans Care Facility here. It can continue the partnership with William Beaumont, but that puts it in an isolated area in East Bliss. Most veterans that have talked to me don't like that option because it's remote and harder to get to. The second option is remodel the existing William Beaumont and convert it to strictly a Veterans Administration clinic, which eventually we hope would turn into a hospital. But the problem with that is that it would require so much money to refurbish it that we actually would be better off building a brand new facility. So that's why I want General Shinseki to come here, listen to the Medical Center of the Americas board and that presentation, so that if it does make sense to build a new facility, if they provide the space, we can build a super clinic that has expansion capability to become a full hospital. That's important for many different reasons. The first one being it's centrally located. Veterans can get to the MCA area much easier than the current William Beaumont or the new William Beaumont. Secondly, it also plays well because one of the things that I have been pushing is that there be an agreement between DOD, the VA, and also the medical school for research and development in different areas like traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and also perhaps even the new state-of-the-art 21st century prosthetics that are being used for our wounded warriors that are really phenomenal. So those are just three general areas that the medical school, the VA, and DOD can enter into federal research dollars that would be important to our community here. So that's the plan that we have. We don't have a large enough veteran base yet to justify a full hospital. So my plan is to do it incrementally, so that as that base of veterans, we anticipate that it will grow, because as more soldiers come to Fort Bliss, they like the area, they like the way the community embraces them, and they will decide to make El Paso their home. So as that base grows, we have the ability to grow the VA into a VA hospital as well.
That ties in with a couple of other issues as well. Now, the soldiers are very important to the El Paso economy, obviously, but also the citizens are important as well. And a majority of our citizens here in El Paso are on Medicare or Medicaid. Now, the problem with that is that a lot of doctors don't want to practice here because of our low reimbursement rates. Is there any way that...
Yes, that not only is there a way, it's something that we're all fighting for. I'm the co-chair of the Border Caucus. It is one of our top priorities to make sure that there is parity in the reimbursement rates between border communities and the rest of the country. That's something that not only is it doable, I think we're going to get that done, because the rationale for not having the same rates today is non-existent, and so we're making that case, and I think we're going to get there. In addition to that, there are more and more doctors coming here to El Paso with the new medical school, with a medical school of the Americas concept here. We are confident we're going to be able to see more doctors coming in. We just opened the Children's Hospital, which is state of the art. If you haven't seen it, you ought to. It's beautiful, and it's as I said, state of the art. In addition to all of that, El Paso is unique in that we have the Pan American Health Organization headquartered here. We've got the Border Health Commission headquartered here. We've got the Border Environmental Committee that is here in the region. We have the International Boundary and Water Commission here. So all of these entities are important because health-wise, they're the ones that track diseases and the impact of diseases throughout Mexico and Latin America. We have them here in El Paso. All of that, we feel, is important in making the case for the expansion of the Medical Center of the Americas. We have language and have had language for federal dollars to be spent in emerging communities that are supported by emerging medical facilities. We fit that formula with the Paul Foster Medical Facility, and so one of the things that I'm fighting for are federal dollars for that research building that the state has been unable to fund. So more and more, not only are we geographically centrally located, but because of all of that activity, Paso, the BEC, and all these other groups, those are important investments that long term are gonna give great benefits to making the case for more investment here in this area.
Now, you've been in Congress, like you said, for 16 years. This would be your 16th year, which can make it very easy for you to not be in El Paso very much, not be in D.C. most of the time. Do you have, or can you tell me a little bit about how you currently stay connected with the community? Are you involved in any civic activities here, or do you plan on meeting with your constituents more often?
Well, I live here. You know, what that means is that I'm on a plane on Monday morning, going back to Washington to represent the district that week, and I'm on a plane back here to my home on either Thursday night or sometime Friday. Today I got in at noon, so I'll work meetings and other things the rest of the afternoon. I will do things on Saturdays. Generally, I like to have Sunday to go to church and spend with my family. But I'm involved in as many things as I can because I have 4 grandkids, ages 10 to 4, that are involved in soccer, basketball, baseball, and all those kinds of things. And I'm watching them grow and am as involved as I can be with them. And in addition to that, it keeps me connected to the community because I don't have anybody that shops for me. In fact, I shop for my wife. And so that gives me the opportunity to talk to everyday El Pasoans. When people try to say that I'm disconnected from the community, they don't know me very well. They don't know that I shop at Sam's and Costco, Safeway, Albertsons, all the different grocery stores here. That's where you actually maintain contact with everyday El Pasoans. You know, I consider myself an everyday person. I'm a middle class person. If you were to ask me what am I worried about, I'm worried that right now the strategy on the part of these conservative groups is to send nothing but rich people that are completely out of touch with you and I, that don't know what the cost of a gallon of milk is, that don't know how much a loaf of bread or a dozen tortillas cost. I know that because I do that shopping and I interact with El Pasoans every day.
Okay. Now, one of your biggest issues also is, of course, maintaining the border and making sure that everything is copacetic. Now, one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now with the border bridges is the severe understaffing.
Right.
And because of that, we have although they're not as high as they used to be, but we still have very high wait times, which, you know, in turn can really affect our own economy downtown and in El Paso as a whole, and can also affect our medical facilities as well. Is there anything that can be done about better staffing the border?
Yes. Well, Congress can pass my legislation that calls for 1,000 new inspectors a year for 5 years, that calls for 1,200 agricultural inspectors for that 5-year period, and 350 support personnel. The biggest obstacle in passing that has been the fact that Governor Perry and all these ultra-conservatives have been yammering about security in between the ports of entry because it plays well politically for them. It fits the anti-immigrant and anti-minority rhetoric that you've seen played out in the Republican debates. But I have legislation that we researched for 9 months with the Department of Homeland Security to come up with those numbers I just gave you. In addition to that, investing $1 billion a year for 5 years would modernize and reconstruct the infrastructure for every port of entry on the U.S.-Mexico border and the U.S.-Canadian border. So my legislation is comprehensive. My legislation addresses all those 30% plus shortages of staffing countrywide, and my legislation provides the support to the infrastructure that would facilitate the ability of trucks and cars to cross independent of each other instead of commingling, which creates more of the chaos on the bridges. So I've been working on this specifically for the last 4 years. The reason we haven't passed it again is because of the border security rhetoric that you see played out in today's debates on the presidential level. But I continue to make the case. That should be one of our top priorities, not just for El Paso, mind you, but for every border community, because the same things that affect us as waiting times on the bridges affect Laredo, affect McAllen, affect Brownsville, affect San Diego, and affect the northern border as well. So I've got a strong coalition, but we just have had to fight against that Tea Party agenda that wants to demonize minorities and immigrants and wants to mischaracterize the security and the safety of border communities like El Paso, Juarez. So with my seniority, with my experience, because I'm the only member of Congress that has the experience of border security, that's the best chance we've got of getting that comprehensive bill passed in Congress. So it's a priority for me. I've been honored to represent this community for the last 15, now 16 years that I'm working there. I'm most proud that my voting record reflects the values and the priorities of the people of El Paso. Mine is not a radical agenda to legalize drugs or anything like that. Mine is to take care of the everyday El Pasoan so that we can solve the waiting times at the bridges, so that we can see a redevelopment of downtown that doesn't impact on poor people using eminent domain. Because I think everybody deserves to be represented. Everybody deserves to be a stakeholder. Whether you're wealthy or poor, you should be respected the same way. So that's why I'm excited to run for another term. And it's up to the people of the 16th district whether or not I will continue to serve or somebody else.
I agree, and thank you so much for addressing all of these issues with us
Glad to do it.
and putting them in a manner that our viewers can really understand. And we look forward to seeing you on Election Day.
Great. Hope it'll be a celebration.